Fora TV. The world is thinking.
We also have an education crisis of the first degree. When I was a child, all our test scores were always going up, and we were all great kids. But then somehow in the late 70s and 80s and 90s, test scores started to not go up anymore and started to go down. And this is a huge, huge problem. Many, many young Americans don't know history, don't know geography, don't know anything except, I guess, how to get high. And education is a key element in forming human capital. If American young people, especially American young people who are not already rich, or at least upper middle class, are not going to acquire education, they're going to sink farther and farther down the income and wealth ladder, and the whole country is going to see a collapse in wealth and social mobility. You know, I was just on TV with Robert Reich, and just moments before I came over here, and he was saying we've got to have a political movement that lifts the middle class out of their middle classness into upper classness. And I said, I don't think that can be done by the government. It can only be done by people working and saving. And as the parent of a teenager, I see very scary auguries about that. The modern young person, there are plenty of them who do want to work, but there are also plenty who don't work, and there are plenty who don't learn anything. And I don't blame the teachers for this. I blame the students themselves. I mean, the teachers are working hard. It is a hard job being a teacher. I've been a teacher. It's a hard job. And I taught in a very privileged setting, mostly at UC Santa Cruz. Even there it was kind of hard. It's very hard teaching kids who are stoned all day long. But anyway, young people just have to get into their heads that it's very, very important for them to learn. And I'm mindful of an anecdote which I think conveys this situation better than I could convey it by data. Just recently I concluded a stint being the co-host of a show on VH1 called America's Most Smartest Model. And we took about 1,600 young men and women who told us they were models anyway, and we tested them, and we wintered it down to 16, 8 men and 8 women, and gave them various tests to see which of them was America's most smartest model. We were aware of the grammatical and usage error, and one day, around the middle of the event, I was talking to 2 of the ones who'd been evicted from the show and who were waiting around to do something before they went back to their lives, doing, I shudder to think what. But one of them said, there was a young man and a young woman, and the young man said, "Wow, you sure know a lot, Ben." And I said, "Well, I'm a lot older than you. I mean, I don't really know that much. I'm just a lot older than you." He said, "How old are you?" And I said, at the time I was 62. I said, "Well, I'm 62." And he said, "Wow." And I said, "Well, let's do a little test right here." I said, "Who was president when I was born?" So they think and they think, and the guy says, "Abraham Lincoln." And I said, No, I said, "Not Abraham Lincoln." So they think and they think, and they say, "Well, we can't think of any other presidents." I said, "Okay, I'm going to give you a clue. A very big war was raging when I was born, and it was raging all around the world, and it was not the first of its kind. So let's start by seeing if you can tell me which war that was." So they think and they think, and the girl says, the young woman says, "Civil War?" And I said, no, I said, "Not the Civil War." So they think and they think, we can't think of any other wars. Okay, it was the Second World War. "Oh, we've heard of that. So I said, "All right, who was president during the Second World War?" "We don't know." "Okay, Franklin Delano Roosevelt." "All right, I'm going to make it really easy for you. Here's some questions. Who did we fight in World War II?" They both simultaneously say, "Germany." "Right." I said, "Very good. Who else did we fight against in World War II?" "Russia." "No, Russia was on our side in World War II. And I might add, a damn good thing, too." And they said, "Oh." So I said, "Well, so then who else did we fight against in World War II?" The guy says, "Germany." I said, "You already said Germany." So he said, "All right, I don't know. And I said, "All right, well, let me just give you a hint. We fought the war in the European theater of operations and in the Pacific theater of operations. Who did we fight against in the Pacific theater of operations?" They think and they think. The guy says, Germany. I said, no, Germany is not in the Pacific. Who did we fight against in the Pacific? The guy thinks and thinks. He says, Russia. I said, no, I already told you Russia was on our side. So they say, we can't think of it. We can't figure it out. So I said, all right, I'm going to make it really easy. It's an island nation that produces very good quality cars. They think and they think. The guy says, Germany? No, not Germany. It was Japan. The guy says, we fought a war against Japan. Who won? So anyway, then the guy says, or maybe it was the woman, I've forgotten right now, says, wow, you know so much, it's amazing. And I said, well, I don't really think it's that much to know. I said, but, I guess we do learn a little bit of history growing up in Washington, D.C., as I did. So he says, oh, yeah, Washington, D.C., where it rains all the time, they have those big trees. And I said, no, that's Washington State. And he said, well, what's the difference? And I said, well, Washington, D.C. is a little enclave between Maryland and Virginia, where the federal government has most of its offices. And Washington State is a big state in the Pacific Northwest where on the coast it does rain a lot and there are some big trees. The woman says, which is which? So anyway, and the media feeds this relentlessly by telling people it's not cool to study, it's not cool to be smart, it's not cool to know anything, it's cool to sing and dance and fight. I mean, you don't see people answering knowledge questions on American Idol.